How's it going, guys? MegaMasterXY here, and it's finally time to review Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yeah, I'm excited to do it, but at the same time I'm a little nervous. I mean, these games were controversial from the start, so, I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety, but you know what? I know what'll relieve that anxiety. It's tea time. Welcome back to Tea Time, where we talk about controversial topics over a nice cup of tea, because there's nothing more relaxing than drinking some tea. Pokemon Sword and Shield. These are the latest games in the Pokemon series, and they're also the first games of Generation 8, as well as the first official mainline Pokemon games on a console. We've been waiting for years for a Pokemon game to come out on the console, and we finally have it. Unfortunately, the lead up to the games have been a bit of a rocky road. There was a lot of criticism going up into these games. I mean, there was criticism about the graphics, the amount of Pokemon that were actually going to be in the games, and so many other details. But pretty much most of the people were disappointed that this wasn't going to be basically the Breath of the Wild of the Pokemon series. I didn't really pay mind to a lot of the controversy. I made one video about it, but other than that, I didn't really mind about what was happening, and I just wanted to see how it was when the games actually came out. And so the games finally came out. Now I get to try it out. Played it for a month, and well, I have a lot to say about these games, so let's get this review started. Let's just tackle the elephant in the room already. It's time to talk about the graphics. This is the part I really needed to find out when playing these games, because, well, were the graphics actually bad? There was a lot of controversy over the graphics since day one. In my opinion, graphics-wise, this is probably one of Game Freak's best, but at the same time, it's still not perfect. The graphics in this game are a huge upgrade compared to the 3DS versions. I mean, they needed an upgrade, otherwise they would just be considered 3DS ports. The cities look incredible in this game, especially when it comes to areas like Circhester and especially in Bologna, where there's just such nice atmosphere into these areas. However, where the graphics definitely need some work is when it comes to minor details. Like this tree, it still looks horrendous. Sure, I mean, you get used to seeing these ugly trees every time you go in the wild area, but still, I mean, they could have at least put in a little more effort just to fix the trees up. But overall, the graphics are still considered to be an upgrade compared to Sun and Moon. And another thing I liked about it is that a lot of the game cutscenes, especially during the stories, they flowed very smoothly. This was a good step in the right direction for Game Freak when it comes to graphics, but they clearly do still need to improve. Next up, let's talk about the gameplay. I mean, these games finally return to the classic Pokemon gameplay where you don't throw your Joy-Cons at the TV to catch a Pokemon. It worked! However, just like in previous generations, they would introduce a new mechanic. These mechanics would be Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. There are the new mechanics for the games, and they would basically replace Mega Evolution and Z moves. It's a shame that Mega Evolution would not even be in the games, because they were honestly one of the best additional mechanics to the series. As for Z moves, no thanks. These mechanics in battle are pretty neat. When it comes to Dynamaxing, your Pokemon will enlarge in comparison to Gigantamax, where the Pokemon will enlarge but they'll also change form. Some of these forms are pretty neat, while others, this wasn't necessary. The way it works is you have 3 turns where your Pokemon gets a boost in stats and HP, and your moves also get a boost as well. Though you can Dynamax any and every Pokemon in the game, except for the legendaries, I do find these new mechanics to be underwhelming. I mean, sure, some of the Gigantamax forms are pretty cool, but outside of that, these aren't too great of mechanics. I mean, they're not bad mechanics either. I mean, it is a new way to battle in Pokemon, where you have to think tactically when it comes to Dynamaxing, but compared to what we had previously, and with Mega Evolution, it just feels underwhelming. I could even argue that, even though I don't like Z moves might have been a little better than this. It is nice to have a new mechanic every now and then, but I just wish Pokemon didn't just throw away their mechanics. However, the one reason I do like Dynamax and Gigantamax is because they brought us one feature that I really loved in this game: the wild area. Outside of the story, this is a big addition to the game that was heavily promoted. The wild area is an open world location where you can find many different Pokemon depending on the time of day and the weather, as well as this being the area where you can do raid battles. Raid battles are honestly one of the most fun things I've ever had, especially when you're doing it with friends and other people. You basically team up with a bunch of teammates, or bots, and you battle out against different Dynamax Pokemon and even find some Gigantamax Pokemon. It's a pretty fun thing to do, and to be honest, I spent most of my time on this game just doing raids with friends. It was just so much fun. Even when I completed the decks, I kept going, because it's just something entertaining to do. to be very honest, I really do like the wild area itself as well. It's a nice atmosphere and it's a good step for Game Freak in the position of maybe going to an open world sort of game. However, there are still some issues. I mean, this tree is pretty annoying, as well as the fact that for some reason you can't connect with friends in the same wild area. It would have been a unique thing to do, and I don't know if it was something that Game Freak was intending to do, because I mean, people do run around in the wild area at the same time, but you just can't seem to find your friends here, and honestly, I wish that was just a part that they added in the wild area. Other than that, the issues are basically because of the Nintendo Switch Online. I mean, it freaking sucks. The servers have gone down quite a few times for this game, and to be honest, there's a lot of lag when you connect online. Now let's talk about the story of the game. Now, most people don't really pay attention to the story, they just see it as something blocking their way from finding that shiny Ponyta. But as usual, the story in the Pokemon games are really good. I didn't exactly feel that way this time. Without giving any spoilers, the characters introduced were handled very well. I mean, you really got to connect with each and every character and see how they changed and basically were able to achieve their goals. I mean, the characters were introduced and handled very well, where most of them struggled with finding their purpose in life. Just like me! The problem with the whole story was literally the plot, as it was just very confusing and felt very rushed in the end. There were so many open questions that just weren't answered or clear. I mean, when it comes to the Legendary arc, I will say this, you're gonna get very confused. That's just what I personally felt about these games. They were very underwhelming. In comparison to other games like Pokemon Black and White and Sun and Moon, where they had incredible stories that truly were touching, these games weren't really that connected. The story plot was all over the place, and to be honest, I wish they probably spent a little more time on it. Maybe they put their time on the wild area, but at the same time, there are people like me who truly do like reading the stories of the Pokemon games, and this one just felt either basic or very underwhelming. Now let's talk about the worst part of the game, the post-game content. Game Freak, since Pokemon X and Y, have been very average when it came to post-game content. If you ever played games like Pokemon Platinum or Black 2, where there is a massive haul of post-game content, you will continue to be disappointed in all there is to do in this game. Now, outside of the wild area, which, to be honest, I spent a lot of time in the post-game just being in the wild area, you basically only have the usuals. You have Wi-Fi battles with opponents worldwide, you have Wonder Trade rebranded as Surprise Trade, where you trade Pokemon with random creeps.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Ready to get your... and give you a... The GTS... Could you imagine if I confirmed that? I'd be roasted. You can catch all 900. Nope. You can shiny hunt, which has introduced a new method, as well as the return of Masuda method. And, well, of course, random encounters, which I doubt will happen.
Why hello, it's your boy Hop. That idiot Brian forgot to mention something, so let's get this over with so I can look at more super effective moves and say how great they are. So let's talk about camping. This was yet another feature mentioned in a few trailers, emphasizing the importance of making curry on rice or else your Pokemon die. In general, this is basically a revamp of the Pokemon Aim and Refresh from the previous games, where you can play with your Pokemon and make some sort of food. Camping does raise your friendship, allows your Pokemon to gain experience, and they look adorable when they hit that invisible wall. But overall it gets a bit boring when there are many other methods for raising new Pokemon, like giving them a dose of EXP candies. Again, just feels like a slightly updated version of the previous mechanics, but at least the memes are good.
And then there's the Battle Tower, which, thank the Lord, I was getting worried it wouldn't arrive. Basically, you have battle against hard CPU opponents using 3 Pokemon and a level cap of 50. We had some sort of Battle Tower in the past games, only they were branded as the Battle Tree, Battle Mason, and Battle Subway. There's nothing wrong with having it, but to be very honest, it gets pretty boring, and it's nothing in comparison to the whole Battle Frontier we used to have. Again, it feels a bit underwhelming when it comes to the amount of post-game content there is after you beat the story. Don't get me wrong, there's still some fun things to do. I mean, you have a hecking good time in the wild area, but still, there could have been more. And finally, we have to talk about the music. Now, this is all my opinion. I mean, this whole review was my opinion, but still, I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about music. Music has always been a strong point for many Pokemon games. Game Freak always brings so many tunes that either fit what's happening in the game at that moment, or they are just so damn catchy! Sword and Shield was no different. I had so many favorites in this game that I truly loved. However, if I were to choose a top 3 for the songs that I've heard in Sword and Shield, it'd probably have to be Sir Chester, the Galar Mines, as well as the Legendary Pokemon Battle. These themes are probably really cool, and obviously they're my favorites, but I really do enjoy the themes in this game, and they're really incredible. So overall, I really did enjoy these Pokemon games. Although they do have their flaws here and there, they truly were solid Pokemon games. They were enjoyable to play, they had a great online multiplayer. It's just, the Nintendo Switch Online itself just sucks. But to be honest, this was a great experience that I enjoyed having, and to be honest, it's been a while since I've enjoyed a modern Pokemon game this much. I mean, I've never had so much fun and so much enthusiasm to complete the Pokédex and then go shiny hunting and catch wild Pokemon, do raids. It's such a fun experience, and to be honest, I really did enjoy it. A lot more than this thing, and trust me, I'm gonna review this and I'm gonna get depression.